Anthony Fauci.
Oh, doctor.
Under investigation by state AGs. This is an Outkick story. 19 state attorney generals, led by South Carolina AG Alan Wilson, sent a letter to Congress stating their intent to hold Dr. Anthony Fauci accountable at the state level despite President Joe Biden's preemptive pardon. The letter says, although former President Biden attempted to shield potential bad actors like Dr. Anthony Fauci from accountability via preemptive pardons, we are confident that state laws may provide a means to hold actors accountable for their misconduct. They requested that Congress share any findings of violations of state laws so they can evaluate state-level courses of action. The AGs accused Fauci of suppressing discussions about the lab leak theory and misleading the public on COVID vaccine risk, which they say contributed to an erosion of trust in health institutions. They wrote, Dr. Fauci led a deliberate campaign to stifle the voices of premier health scholars regarding the lack of adequate testing of vaccines, which kept the public from knowing about risks like myocarditis and pericarditis among young adult males, the verified increased risk of blood clots in women, and the long-term effects vaccines had on fertility. Glenn, will anything happen to Fauci?
Yes.
Please.
And I did not believe this. I mean, a year into it, I did a two-night special on just the stuff that we could find in public spaces that showed the smoking guns everywhere. Now we have the actual data. Now we have a preponderance of evidence, and he's backdated it to 2014. For very specific reasons. This guy has been breaking the law and becoming his own god, and he has to go to jail. And I never thought he would, but under Trump, it's not going to be vengeance. It's not going to be, repaying his enemies. They are looking for the truth between Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Bhattacharya. They're going to unravel this thing, and he's going to jail. And it will be because of the states. They have a right and a duty to do it.
Vinny.
I'm Glenn, I have a list of the top 3 people that I just despise. As hard as this, being a Christian and trying to pray, and I actually have to pray for these people. Yeah. That's the hardest thing I think about being a Christian. Yeah. I have to pray that they get their souls intact because at one point they're going to be judged. But he's at the top, and Alejandro Mayorkas have always been at the top, and Pat knows this. He pushed these lies, and I saw a meme. Imagine getting medical advice from a doctor that needs a pardon for the medical advice that he gave you.
Yes.
That's why all these freaking Democrats, all these people, but you remember, Glenn, they would put those pictures of him in front of their lawns, like they would worship this demon.
He was the golden calf.
He was the golden calf. And people are like, well, Trump was, he's been around for 7 presidents? But while this is all going on, Pat, Doge announced, and Elon, that in the past 48 hours, HHS canceled 62 contracts worth $182 million, and one of them was, ready for spending, $168,000 contract for an Anthony Fauci exhibit at the NIH museum. They're like,
he's a god.
Put that, that's going down. And then the one more thing that I saw, it was Lauren Boebert was having a House Oversight Committee hearing, and they questioned Justin Goodman. He's a senior vice president at the White Coat Waste Project about the National Institute NIH funding research that involves, they were implanting tissue from aborted fetuses into lab animals, so abortions, that's why they're so pro-abortion. He confirmed that such studies have been funded by the NIH, specifically mentioning Dr. Fauci's NIH allergy and infectious disease. That's
He's
what
a
he
monster.
was doing. That's what he was doing. Pat, you want to hear this clip?
Yeah, of course.
This is it.
Implant aborted baby parts into lab animals. Have you heard of that sort of research?
Yeah, we did an analysis a few years ago showing that over 90% of experiments with using human fetal tissue and putting them involved animals were funded by Fauci's NIAID.
Do you know where they're getting the aborted human fetal tissue?
Universities?
A lot of it is happening at colleges and universities that have affiliated hospitals that perform that
pro-abortion, kill your
Madam
babies,
Chair,
because
I
guess
think
what? We
to
need to
look into
use
that
them
as
for
well.
experiments on animals.
And what is and honestly, when you look at Fauci and what he was starting to do in 2014, what he really started it with Dick Cheney right after 9/11, almost all of these, there is no medical reason to do these experiments. They have not made medicine better. They're not making us safer. In fact, the opposite. They are making things much, much more dangerous in the world. Where is the medical evidence that any of this was good and useful? You can't even make that argument.
Zero. And the only comfort that I could have, Glenn, and I was thinking about this yesterday, for the rest, because they took away his security detail. He's finished. He has to pay for his own security, which is good. For the rest of his life, Glenn, anytime he looks out of a window or he's outside in public, he's always going to be like this. At least I have that comfort, because how many people's lives he ruined, how many kids' lives have been ruined, and how many people freaking died that they couldn't go to their grandfathers' and grandparents' funerals because that scumbag knowingly knew what he was doing.
Well, I hope that nothing happens to him except he goes to jail.
No, I want him in prison for the rest of his life, but he's going to be nervous everywhere he goes for the rest of his life.
Well,
Tom.
Yeah, when everybody on social media that says, oh, he was pardoned. Well, let me give you a constitutional lesson. No offense. Article 2 of the Constitution points out that the president can grant reprieves and pardons for crimes against the United States. And there are multiple precedents where the state attorney generals banded together. They banded together against Google and price fixing until it was taken up to the Southern District of New York by the federal government. So the states have the purview and the ability, as well as to work in parallel. Really, Vinny, so you're in Arizona, I'm in New Mexico, and we have a hoodlum who's committed crimes in both and says, wait a minute, our indictment is word for word the same as your indictment. Tell you what, we'll wait for you, but as soon as you're done, then we're going to try them here. I'll give you an example. You have the hashtag Me Too. Harvey Weinstein. He was tried where? In New York. And who stood down and waited for the New York case? California. But as soon as it was done, who had to have his old wrinkled butt put on a plane and went to trial in California?
Harvey.
Guess what? Ladies and gentlemen, that's what you're seeing. And I just wanted to back up a little bit because there's a lot of comments that are happening and there's a lot of stuff on social media. Biden pardoned him. No, not against state crimes. And you've seen it with Weinstein. And that's what we're going to see here.
I'm just going to sort of be the rain on this Fauci going to jail parade. The chances, I think, of Anthony Fauci going to jail are less than 1%. Why would I think that? Who the hell we've ever seen go to jail for something like this?
Who the hell's ever seen what we've seen in the last 21 days?
Sure, I understand.
Yeah,
however, they just came out 2 weeks ago and they said, yeah, by the way, breaking news, straight up, it did come from a lab leak. Mm-hmm. Nothing happened. China, but we're about to have the 5-year anniversary of COVID, like in a couple of weeks. 5-year anniversary. Has China paid anything? Are we having any accountability?
Look at Missouri. The Missouri AG just sued China. China didn't even show up to defend itself.
Respect to the great state of Missouri. Out of nowhere, suing
they
China.
They are suing him.
Okay, good.
They're suing China for billions and billions of dollars, which means if they win this case, they can just take all the Chinese land out of America.
That's a big if. Who knows? I'm rooting for America here now, guys. However, I just don't see any accountability here. By the way, throwing Fauci in jail. Fauci's 185 years old. How old is Fauci? 85?
Look good. Let him die in jail.
Okay, I mean, what do you think is going to happen? You think he's going to just rot in prison for about 6 months?
I hope so.
84 years old.
Yeah, he deserves it. That's what Adam. That's what I want. Is accountability.
I'm not saying that he does or he doesn't. What I'm saying is the likelihood of Fauci spending the rest of his life in jail, knowing what we know, I just don't see it. I don't see it happening.
Knowing what, I would absolutely agree with you. Before January 18th of this year, I would have absolutely agreed with you. But what happened when the president was elected? You are in a new reality. New reality. We have yet to see it pay off with somebody going to jail. But I know Kash Patel. I know Pam Bondi. These guys are not going to screw around. They're not. Donald Trump is not going to screw around. I've never seen a president. Do you know he made sticky notes every time he went off a stage and he had a promise that he made? He wrote it on a sticky note, and he put those all on a wall. And then when he was elected, he went through and said, this one. He's just checking them all off. He's going to do it.
Has Trump made any public comments recently about Fauci at all?
I don't think he has time. He's not even worried about it. He's going to let them deal with it. He's going to let.
You don't think?
But listen, let me tell you what's the biggest
it?
comment. You know what's the biggest comment he's made?
Sir?
The biggest comment he's made is, My recommendation for who should run the Department of HHS is Bobby Kennedy. That's the biggest
Yes.
comment. Do you know who in America has investigated Fauci more than RFK? Nobody.
Yep.
Can you imagine, out of all the people that are going to go after you, is the guy that wrote a book that sold millions of copies, he puts him in charge to go after you? Yeah, I mean, he's like, yeah, to write a book that technical, the way he broke down whatever, LZT, AIDS, all this stuff, the history of it, he needs to do this job. Go see if there's, the only thing I care about is this. Fauci is still someone's father, he's someone's grandfather. Fauci is still someone's son, someone's nephew, someone's, all of that. Fauci is someone's family that loves the guy, right? Totally fine. If he committed a crime, if he manipulated people the way I'm convinced that he did,
Yes.
destroyed kids' lives, your mom, your dad dies, you can't go hug them or see them. He said Thanksgiving to not be around your family and stay away from your elderly. The only thing somebody in their 70s and 80s has left is company. It's the only thing they care about. They don't want money. They don't want a car. They don't want fancy food. They don't care about any of that stuff. All they care about is, can you just have lunch with me? Can you just have dinner with me? Can you just come and let me tell you a few stories about back in the days? Can I sit down with me a little bit and just tell me you care about me? That's all. How many people did he take that away from? Yeah, bro, let me tell you, that's personal. How many restaurants shut down because everybody was listening to this, and your grandfather started a restaurant out of hard work? Him and a grandmother built a restaurant that was passed down to your father, and now you're running it, and that was shut down because of COVID policies? No, bro, this is so deeply personal to people that those people have not forgotten. If he did anything, we find out when they investigate, I expect 100% level of
And
accountability.
this kind of action is why Trump would get a third term, because they would see, wow, we're a completely different nation. He takes this stuff seriously, and he answers to us. He feels like us. He answers to us. That's the kind of stuff, when you throw out those seeds on a third term, that people will stand up and go, look at the people he just put in jail.
Yeah.
Look at the case they just made. He's cleaning it up.
Gentlemen, for you, if you're married or you're dating a girl who watches the PBD podcast and loves valuetainment, by the way, I am being stopped right now more than ever before with ladies that watch the PBD podcast. We did a market research. We realized it was because of Tom Ellsworth, but it's gone up a lot because of the interest, and Tom being a family guy, and a lot of ladies want their husbands to be paying attention to Tom and what things we talk about here. There's requests of getting rid of Adam. A guy tweeted me the other day saying, look, don't ever make the mistake of getting rid of Adam. He is this. He starts building up how special Adam is. I'm like, oh, my God, Adam, stop. I thought it was Adam on the other end trying to sell me on himself. And I responded back. I said, I have some bad news for you. We just fired Adam, and he was devastated. Started campaigning, but unfortunately, Adam is back. And we're great to have him, and you guys know we love Adam, but at the same time, this is about Valentine's Day for you and your wives. So let me get back to that message.
It was a nice love message, right?
Yes, it was. You got a little too much last week, and I'm trying to tone it back down for you.
Put me in my place, sir.
You don't need a lot of it. Sometimes when
I
you
don't
do
need
get,
that.
you're walking in clouds, and
We don't need that.
Adam's a Hollywood guy, folks. You got to